Max, it's Sunday. It's another episode of The Last of Us.
Great episode of The Last of Us.
Episode 8, When We Are in Need.
He shall provide.
It's no secret to anybody that listens to this podcast that the last episode for us left a little bad taste in our mouths, and seems like it's kind of like, I kind of get the feeling it's just us, because every single thing that I've come across, everybody loved that last episode.
I guess. I mean, I watched it twice, went back on a couple of, scenes that were pulled for the last episode. I thought it could have been executed, still could have been executed better, but we don't have to beat that, with a dead stick. It served its purpose. I could have done without it, but it's all good. But we do have some housekeeping before we jump into this episode.
Let's hit it.
Okay, so I mentioned it in our last episode. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback from what we're doing here, and we've decided to do additional shows on this podcast. So we've gone through a small little rebranding. We are now the ExStreamists. Stream in the middle right there, ExStreamists.
I get it. It's clever.
Clever. It beat out the Pedro Pascal podcast because we're doing The Last of Us starring Pedro Pascal, and the new show we're doing is The Mandalorian starring Pedro Pascal.
Yep.
So we already had episode 1 of season 3 up. So if you see the graphic is changed, nice yellow graphic.
It's clean. I like it a lot.
Yeah, cool graphic. You'll still find the episodes of The Last of Us in there, but we're going to be doing The Mandalorian, and we'll be doing several other shows moving forward. We actually have a bonus show that's going up on the Patreon account for patrons. It's Paramount Plus's Sylvester Stallone starring show
Tulsa
King.
Yep. So
great show.
Yeah. So we got one episode that's going to have episode 1, 2, and 3 of Tulsa King, and then we're going to drop 2 more episodes to kind of
finish out season 1 of Tulsa King.
Yeah.
And then that'll be exclusive to the Patreons. Eventually it'll move over, and then we'll do season 2 of that when it comes out.
Right. For people that aren't familiar with that show, it's made by the creator of Yellowstone, but then also you've got the writers and producers of Sopranos.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. I liked it. It was fun. Was it enough to stop all the presses and why aren't we only talking about this show? Not quite there, but
no, but it was solid.
It's got Stallone, and
I thought the character he plays, the General Manfredi, not to go too deep, is one of his best characters in anything he's ever done.
Really?
To me, it's such a great character. It's for where he is in life, it's the perfect character for where he is in his life in terms of his age.
Okay.
So just like it was Rocky and Rambo was great when he was a young man, the General was great for him as an older man. That's how I look at it.
Okay.
So let's get into this.
All right. Right. Well, now we know. Knowing is half the battle. Let's jump into this episode of The Last of Us, When We Are in Need. All right. So the show starts off by a new character that we haven't seen before, which, surprise, surprise. And he's reading straight out of the Bible. And this girl starts crying.
Yeah.
And we come to find out later, after she gets slapped by this new character, his name is David, that this is the daughter of the person that Joel killed 2 episodes ago.
Yeah, at the university.
At the university. So the guy who stabbed Joel in the stomach with the baseball bat, part of the baseball bat, and then Joel kills him, well, these are his people now. And so all that, well, you said everything's going to come full circle in this episode, and it does come full circle in this episode. So we meet our new character. His name is David, and he's the leader of this new group, and he has a person with him, his second in command, named James. And for those of you who play the video game, James is played by Troy Baker, and Troy Baker is the voice of Joel in the game. So here's a nice little Easter egg for the people that play the game. He's playing a completely different character, unfortunately. Not as good as Joel. You don't actually get to hear him use his accent and stuff, which he does in the game, which is fabulous. But, Yeah,
it's a nice role they gave him.
Yeah.
They've done that so far. They've given a lot of the actors, Tommy was what was the guy in Kansas City with Kathleen?
Oh, I forgot his name already. Man.
The actors, was it Pierce? But
no.
What was his name?
It was...
Oh, you're going to make me go back and
We'll come back to it. We'll come back to it. Some people are listening to this right now go, how do you not know this? How do you not know this?
Oh, the guy got his head taken off.
Pierce?
Yeah.
No, is it Pierce?
Perry.
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 I feel like I should know
See?
Perry.
I
Perry.
remember.
Okay.
Anyway.
All right. So then we go, the scene will switch over, and then now we see Ellie, who's taking care of Joel. So Joel looks like he's on his last leg.
Yeah, when she reveals the wound, you can see some green pus, which usually means infected.
Yeah, it's not looking good.
He's about to, yeah.
Yeah. So she breaks off some of that rat jerky.
Yeah.
Eats
Is that what that is? The rat jerky?
What else is it going to be, man? I don't know what else it could possibly be. We're calling it rat jerky until someone clarifies what it is. So she gives him a little piece, and in case he wakes up, if he wants to eat, and she goes out hunting. And you get to see, Ellie now being the provider of this, of this two-man journey group.
Yeah.
Because really it's been Joel the entire time. It seems like Ellie's doing more of the protecting and saving of Joel than actually Joel is.
Most of the season.
Yeah, but it seems like Joel's been like the provider as far as like food and shelter. And now it's, the tables have turned.
Let's see if she's been paying attention.
And it looks like she does. If we're not doing Ellie meter yet, but I will say
she gets some points in this episode.
She gets points in this episode for a lot of different things, which you pointed out some stuff that I didn't even notice. But, she goes out hunting. She finds a deer. She does, she gets a good clean shot, it looks like. The deer does, scurry away. She just got to follow the blood. But before she gets there, it turns out that David and James, who had already went out hunting as well, they come across that deer before she does. Dead, bleeding all over the place. And
it's a gift for them because as the episode develops, you find out they're obviously horrible at hunting.
Yeah.
And this is like a gift for them to get a nice, deer like this.
Yeah. And they seemed a little excited about it until Ellie kind of sneaks up behind them, tells them to drop their weapons, and she's now in charge.
Yeah.
And you see the slickness of David. David's a pretty slick guy, the preacher.
Yeah.
He's pretty slick as far as it seems like he's gaining her trust in a way.
He's a charismatic leader.
He's very charismatic, yes.
Cult leaders usually are.
Yeah. She says he's offering trades with her, like, hey, you can come back to my place.
Yeah.
And, I got some stuff. I can give you
Why
some
did
stuff.
you have to put it like that?
Because, this episode...
Especially the way the episode ends up.
This episode gets creepy, so it's hard not to. She says she's willing to trade half the deer for some medicine.
Yeah.
And...
she brings up medicine,
She brings up medicine. And they said they have medicine. I don't remember if they actually say or what types, but he does.
She said for infections.
For infection, that's right.
That up.
So David looks over to James and says, hey, go get, I think it's 2 things of penicillin and a syringe. And then James has this look to David like, are you serious? And David's like, I'm not speaking in code to you. I'm dead serious. Go get the medicine.
Yeah.
So we're here, like, you kind of think now that maybe Ellie's kind of found like a good person in this, crap world for like a second. Because,
Oh, after the little powwow in the fire, their little talk?
Well, like before that, like, hey, go get the medicine. I'm not, he tells them I'm not speaking in code.
Oh, okay.
Go get her the stuff. Then he offers to, I think, build a fire. Like, let's go. And then they somehow drag the deer into like some little bit of a shelter. And they have a conversation that starts off like, like a pretty nice conversation until he says that line where it's like everything happens for a reason.
Mm-hmm. He reveals a lot about himself and the group. Right. That they are, he was a teacher. He wasn't a preacher until after the apocalypse. They started in the Pittsburgh QC that went under. Right. And they traveled and found their way here in, this is Utah, right? Salt Lake City or something like that?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
They decided to go from
They're in a resort.
Yeah, one cold place to a colder place.
Yeah.
Which was kind of nice. But then when he says that everything happens for a reason, he says, let me tell you why. And then he tells a story about like 4 of his friends go out.
Yeah.
One friend gets attacked by another person and that friend dies. And it turns out they were attacked by a guy who had a girl with him.
Yeah.
And so now that's when we come to the realization that the person that died in the beginning that they were talking about at the beginning of the show is the person that Joel killed. Yeah. So these are like not the people that she wanted to run across at all.
Nope.
And then when he says that story, you find out that James is behind her. Mm-hmm. And I feel like he already knew, because he does know, because we find out later that he already put 2 and 2 together before he left, because when they get back to the lodge, they already heard rumors.
Yeah, he already told them that they found.
Yeah. But then when he gets back, it's clarified that that is the girl and the person and the guy that they were looking for. David still says, give her the penicillin, give her the medicine, and they go their separate ways.
Yeah.
So you kind of think maybe bygones might be bygones. It's interesting though, after Ellie like confirms like that she is that person they're looking for, she doesn't say why Joel killed.
Like it was self-defense.
It was self-defense. It wasn't like Joel was just standing there. The guy went and attacked him. It was like, it kind of seems like something that should maybe get a pass on in this, in this world, the way things are in this world right now. Because like that, I feel like that happens all the time. It's like, oh, well, just chalk one up for their team. We'll just move on to the next one.
Yeah, but why did they attack in the first place? It's like, I think in this world, it's like you kill before you get killed.
Right.
There's not much communication in anything. If someone has survived this long, we're talking about 20 plus years, and they're out and about and not in the QC zone, you gotta assume they're violent, dangerous.
Right.
I always bring it up: raiders, slavers, rapers, whatever they are. You're part of one of those groups. Yeah. So I can understand why they attacked Joel right away.
Right.
It's just the nature of the world you're in.
Yeah. After that scene, the next scene we see is actually it looks like it's the kitchen of the lodge.
Yeah.
Right? And then you see these two people preparing a meal. Mm-hmm. Another guy comes in and he's got some meat in a bowl.
Yeah.
And
venison.
They kind of question it though, like what is this? And he looks at him like this is venison.
Yeah. And they had like a can of, what is that? One of those giant,
it's like a pasta, like pasta sauce or something.
Pasta sauce. And she's like, there's only 4 cans left. So and remember, David had told Ellie that their people are starving. That's why they wanted, I think Ellie agreed like half of the deer.
Half the deer, yeah.
Yeah. They ended up taking the whole deer. But yeah, so at that point in the scene, when he says venison, you assume you're thinking maybe it's the deer that they just brought in, but then you see them walk in with the deer.
Well, it looked a little weird.
Yeah,
obviously you knew something was suspicious. I mean,
especially the guy's face.
Right. This isn't like this isn't the first post-apocalyptic, zombie-ish show that I've ever watched, that you've ever watched.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, we're kind of thinking, all right, they're eating people, right?
Because David told the daughter Hannah, like, we can't bury your father now because the ground is too cold to dig.
Gotta wait till spring.
We're gonna bury him in the spring. No.
Turns out you ate him for dinner yesterday and you didn't realize it, unfortunately.
Man, they were going to town on that meal too. They were hungry. When you're hungry.
Yeah, there was a point where I thought maybe they all knew that they were eating people.
No, something like that, you got to keep it close to the vest. You don't let people know. Ignorance is bliss. But when they come in with the deer, he thinks everybody's going to be excited that they brought a deer back, but the rumor already has spread that they found, the killer, and he gives a little speech, and was it Hannah, the daughter, speaks out.
She says kill them both, I think, right?
Yeah, kill her. Because his plan was not to kill Ellie,
which we find out why later.
Yeah, he wants to keep Ellie alive, but let Joel face justice, as he says, right?
Right.
And she speaks out, and he walks up and he smacks her with the backhand, knocks her off her chair. The mother stands up to kind of like defend her daughter, and he gives her a look and just like, sit back down, and she does, and like a cult leader that he is, he sits down at their table and basically says, "You still have a father," and he's referencing himself.
Yeah, but he's calling him her daddy, which is kind of
it's like you would think if because the episode started with him reading scripture, so you would think he would reference, "You still have your father in heaven," but
that's what I thought it was going.
No, he's full David Koresh, taking on the whole "I am great" thing, and says, "No, I'm your father," and he does it multiple times in this episode, where he's like, I forget the religion, it's really me, right? So he sits down, and then they give him a big bowl of daddy, and he, and they all start
big
eating.
Bowl of daddy. Yeah, and you could see some of the people look like they haven't eaten for a while.
Yeah,
and
they were going.
They're going to town on it. Going to town on. I can't even say it. I'm not gonna say it. All right. So next scene, we go back, and we see Ellie and Joel. Ellie's, she gets back to Joel. She's got the penicillin, and she's decides to syringe him right in the wound.
Inject him.
Syringe
him. Inject him.
Is that the way you say it?
My wife's a nurse. I'm not sure that's exactly where you put it. I mean, it's not like she has an IV bag to put it, but I think it would have worked just in his shoulder.
Right.
But she's right at the wound.
Right. I think I missed a spot there. I think we actually see Ellie do that before David gets back to the place. Either way, we're moving on. So then, after Ellie actually gives him the shot, though, I thought this was kind of interesting. When she does give him the shot, Ellie lays down next to Joel, kind of like in this daughter, taking care of dad routine.
They bonded.
It's in that point for sure, which is really nice to see. You then see, in the next episode next couple scenes, Ellie's kind of checking the wound out, gives him another shot. You notice that the gang green, it's kind of developing, it's kind of going away.
It's the next morning. She went to bed. She went to sleep.
Right. She decides she's going to go out and hunt some more. And as she opens up the garage door, she walks outside and she sees some birds.
Yeah.
Get, startled.
Yep.
Didn't hear anybody fire a gunshot like Joel did in one of those episodes. So she goes investigates and investigates and finds out that David and the crew, they're out looking for them.
Yep.
So she goes back, gives Joel a knife, and kind of tells him Joel's still knocked out. Like he doesn't really know what's actually happening. He's recovering. Gives her a knife and says, if anybody comes in here, you got to kill him. I'm going to, lead them away from you.
Yeah.
She goes out there with her horse.
She boards up the door with that, what is that? A China
cabinet or something.
China cabinet.
Yeah, kind of hides it up.
Which is clever,
Yeah, maybe she spent like an extra 20 seconds.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. Runs out with the horse.
Yeah.
And she comes out and starts firing at him.
Right.
Like she's like in a Western.
Yeah. And, James knows how to cut her off. Apparently, I feel like he knew the location pretty well.
They probably do.
Yeah, cuts through an alley or in between houses.
Yeah.
We'll call it an alley. Sets up, knows exactly when she's going to come down the road, shoots the horse. I feel like he was aiming for her, though. I don't think he was aiming for the horse because he wanted to kill her. Like he was done
I'll
with
definitely
her.
rewatch that because I thought he was just gonna. Because David told him he wants him alive.
Yeah,
and remember they had that scene where he was like, it's God's will if she dies, and he gave him the look like, forget God's will. My will says I want to keep her alive.
Right, but that's James saying that to David, so that's why I was thinking James. I mean,
David saying that to James.
No, James said that's if it's God's will.
Yeah, and then David gave him the look like, no, forget God's will. Yeah. My will is you're going to listen to what I say.
Well, after,
I want her alive.
Right. Well, after he shoots the horse and she goes flying off, he goes up and points a gun at her, and he's going to kill her then.
Yeah, because one of the dudes is like, just do it, Like, David's not around, let's just do it. Like, they're afraid of the guy, like, for what?
Well, Daddy shows up and fires his gun.
Yeah, and they all look like they're all scared. They tuck their tails in. It's like,
a
bunch of weak sauce.
So anyways, so he picks up Ellie, David does.
Yeah.
Tells two of the guys to drag the horse back.
Yeah.
And then the remaining guys, which I thought it was 2, but it turns out it was 3. Whatever.
It's 3, right?
It has to be 3 because of the kill count. It has to be 3. Yeah. Tells those guys to go look for Joel.
Yeah.
Right? So those guys, one of them finds the hidden door that Ellie put the China cabinet in front of, goes downstairs, looks if Joel hears the guy moving the cabinet, hears the guy up there, he wakes up, gives himself some kind of an adrenaline shot or something. Finds the greatest hiding spot in the basement.
Joel's the guy, man. He's the one.
Yeah. Guy comes downstairs, finds nobody, kind of searches down there a little bit. Boom. Joel pops out, stabs him in the neck.
Yeah, immediately. Like, it's not even a tussle. It's like he grabs him and knifes in there. One movement. That was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Because usually it's like you grab a person and then you give him a thing. He comes in and like hugs him with the knife.
Right.
I call it that. He hugs him from the back with the knife. He led with the knife.
Hey, you got to take him out quiet. That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
And
he lets a guy drown in his own blood. He's like, he holds on to him.
It was a pretty gruesome death.
Yeah. He watches the guy like exit out, like right in his eyes.
Yeah.
Joel's that dude, man.
It was not pretty. All right.
Then you fast outside. Now another guy hears like a thump, goes around, was it a fence? I don't remember.
Yeah, it goes around like some white picket fence or something like that. Yeah.
Sees one of the guys on the ground.
See, I thought there was only two. So I thought, like, did Joel drag that guy up the steps and go place him out there as some bait? I was like, man, this is getting a little crazy.
No, it was one of the other guys knocked him out.
Yeah.
And then Joel comes and knocks him out as well.
Right.
Wraps them both. This is a great cutscene in the video games. We'll talk about it on Wednesday, but he brings them both in there. One's tied like against the wall. Another one's tied in a chair. Joel takes the knife and like stabs him right in the knee.
Yeah,
that must have hurt like freaking hell.
Yeah, but he gets the guy. The whole point of that
interrogation.
His interrogation is he gets one guy to tell him one thing, and if the other guy doesn't match what that guy said, someone's gonna die.
It's lights out.
Yeah, it's quite genius.
He did the same thing with the Indian couple in the cabin in the start of Kin. That 2 episodes ago. When the husband comes in, he's like, "I want you to show me on the map, see if it matches up with the wife."
Right.
And then didn't the guy ask the wife, "Did you tell him the truth?" kind of thing, right?
Yeah,
that was a nice touch. But anyway,
you made him some soup.
Yeah, but the guy, he puts the knife in the guy's mouth to point.
Yeah, on the map.
On the map, gets his information, and the other guy's like, "Yo," and he still kills him.
Yeah, he believes him, and then he kills him, and the other guy's like, "I'm not gonna tell you anything." And Joel says, "I believe the guy," and just decides to beat the guy to death with a pipe.
Yeah,
and so he's out for blood for sure.
Great scene.
So back at David's place, you see Ellie. She's in a cell now. She's been captured. David's there to meet her and talk to her, let her know that she's not alone, that she should trust him. Mm-hmm. Another scene, he comes back, and we still obviously
they had a great conversation. We're gonna probably pull some of those scenes.
We're definitely gonna pull those scenes
for Wednesday.
You get to this is when you put all of it together. As like not only are they cannibals, but David's also a creepy pedophile.
Yeah,
and he's looking for, I guess, someone to help him. Like, I don't know,
rule.
I guess rule, because he has this whole thing. He says that everyone that's around him is sheep.
Yeah,
but he sees something in Ellie for like the brief conversation that they had over by the bonfire on how like she is a leader. Like she's just like him, but he
violent.
But he does have something. He says something about her violent heart.
Yeah.
I wrote it down, and I forgot. Oh, you have a violent heart, and so we've been saying this through the entire season.
Yeah.
How there's something wrong with Ellie
when it comes to psycho mode.
Yeah,
psycho Ellie.
Right, and if you watch the behind the scenes when they talk to the creator of the show, and then they talk to the showrunner, they actually say that they added that in.
Yeah,
this was not part of the show, wasn't part of the game.
Yeah.
This is a choice they actually made for the show. So we weren't going crazy just thinking that that's like, why is she like this way? But she wasn't. Like, it was intentional.
Yeah, and in the two conversations, we'll dive deeper on Wednesday. David kind of reveals like the religion thing is BS for him. Really.
Yeah, it's his way to control.
It's way to control, and it's not the first time in a post-apocalyptic that somebody uses religion to control people, right?
Sure.
That's the whole theme of Book of Eli, right? With Denzel Washington and Gary Oldman.
Yeah.
And he also, in the previous conversation when they were around the fire, he mentioned that he was a math teacher before the apocalypse,
right? And
he found religion after. As a means of control, but he was a math teacher. So if you're putting it all together, he's a math teacher, and he said for students Ellie's age, he was probably one of those creep math teachers who probably had urges, and who knows if he executed on them or not before.
I would say if he didn't, then he was one of those people, those rare people that enjoyed the apocalypse coming.
Yeah, so he could be his true self.
Yeah.
Right? So
Disgusting.
You're putting all this, like, this guy is really, he's not really a religious dude. He's definitely a pedophile because he's trying to hit on Ellie. Like, he wants Ellie to be.
Oh yeah, and Ellie uses that.
Oh yeah, to break his finger.
Yeah, so this is cool now because now we're seeing, and this is like, if you play the game at some point, you do play as Ellie, and you get to see, I guess, the teachings of Joel in a way, as far as like she's seen his violence through the entire trek across the United States, and she's seen what he's been doing, and obviously she's kind of jumps in and kind of helps out and fires a gun every so often, but now it's her turn to get really violent and use people's weaknesses against him, and she saw his weakness as far as like being attracted to her, as gross as it is. Yeah, man, we're leaving that in.
Okay.
Your phone's going off, it stays in the podcast. And so she uses. She puts her hand on
his.
No, she puts her hand on the jail cell.
Oh yeah, she moves closer.
Yeah, and then he kind of puts it on top of her hand.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden she uses that as
like
leverage.
A creep.
I kind of thought she was gonna bite him right then and there.
Yeah.
But
I thought she was gonna pull him and bang his face on the wall.
Right.
The finger's a better job.
The finger, she breaks it, but then he grabs her head and bangs it against the wall. But then she also did, prior to that though, she did see the ear on the floor, and that did confirm that they were cannibals.
Yeah, he explained it.
He explained it and said, like, you wouldn't be eating food, or you wouldn't be a meal, you would be leading these people. Or he said some kind of a line like that.
Yeah, because they're bad fishermen. They didn't fish in the spring, summer, and fall.
Apparently winter.
And the winter and store any of the fish that they caught with this river that's right there.
Right.
And they obviously can't hunt well because they have to resort to eating people. Even when Joel gets there, he sees the bodies hanging in one of the lodge, one of the rooms.
Right.
Like,
yeah, I know. But after she breaks his finger and he slams her head against the jail cell, he tells her basically she's screwed now. She's going to be a meal.
Yeah. Little bits.
You're going to be little bits, and kind of runs off, crying or whatever the case is.
Crying.
I mean, that was a pretty brutal break.
Yeah.
And then next thing we saw Joel, he follows the blood into the lodge.
Yeah.
Right?
Finds the horse.
And he finds the people hung from the rafters.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great scene. This episode, just like so many, like, what the fuck?
And the showrunners talked about it. Like, you see Joel's there and you're waiting for Joel. When is Joel going to break in and save the day and save Ellie? But Ellie doesn't need Joel in this.
No, and you see all of her anger and her craziness as far as...
Because David comes back with James.
And they take her out of the jail cell. They put her on top of a slab, cutting board or whatever, table. And they're going to kill her and cut her up and eat her.
Got the meat cleaver and everything.
And the transition from there to do we see her bite him?
Yeah, in the struggle, in the fight, she bites him.
Because I didn't even notice that until all of a sudden she says that I'm infected.
Yeah, and saying because she bit him.
Yeah, look at your hand. Yeah. Look at my arm. And then they pull the arm up and then you see all of the affected fungus.
Yeah, like on her
veins.
Yeah, like at the surface of her skin kind of thing. That gives her enough time, though.
Yeah, she grabs the meat cleaver.
Takes out video game Joel.
Rest in peace, James. And then we find out how bad of a shot. Obviously, now we know why they can't kill any deer or whatever, because they can't even hit a girl who's like right in front of him.
Point blank running away at a door. Just aim at the door. You're going to hit her. I thought it got her, but obviously it didn't.
No. So then now she's in the food lodge. And the place is called Todd's Steakhouse.
Oh, I can't wait to look this place up for Wednesday's episode.
I want to see what the reviews are.
Yelp it.
Todd's Steakhouse. Yeah. So this is Ellie, she's hiding while David's just kind of yelling stuff at her.
Yeah, she goes to a fire, grabs a log with some kindling on it.
Yeah,
like she's gonna burn the dude.
And this is the part in the show where you're kind of like, where's everybody else?
Yeah, where's Joel? We're waiting for Joel.
Not even Joel.
I'm talking about where's the people?
I'm talking about the people that, where's the rest of his clan?
Yeah.
Because the place is on fire. It's a raging fire now. You would think somebody would have smelled smoke or saw something happen, come in and go try to put the fire out. Nobody shows up.
They all got food poisoning the night before. They were eating that poor Hannah's dad.
Because it turns out Hannah's dad didn't wash himself properly.
That's probably what they are.
Gross.
But they're alone.
Yeah. So Ellie fights for her life.
Yeah.
And I believe, I'm trying to remember the events that happens, but she stabs David in the belly.
Well, before then, she throws the log with the fire at him, and it hits curtain. Yeah. So now the place starts to catch on fire.
Right. And then at some point, she stabs him in the belly. He kind of like grabs her, and then it looks like he's going to force himself on her.
No, he's going to rape her. And while he's about to rape her, the whole place is on fire. Like, he doesn't give a damn. He's that sicko.
Yeah.
Like, I'm surprised he
lasted this long and being in charge of people.
Yeah, because I'm surprised he didn't, rape any other little girls that were staying with him.
Oh, this is such a gross episode.
Yeah, I mean, no offense to Scott Shepherd, but he looks like they did a great job casting. He looked like a creepo.
He looks creepier when they were interviewing him than actually in the actual show. And I'm sorry, but it did. It looks really weird.
Like, if you had a kid and that was his math teacher, their math teacher, I'd be like, "Yo,
nope,
you're not staying for extra help, right?
Nope,
no,
not gonna happen.
Not happening."
All right, so Ellie struggles, finds a knife while this guy's trying to force himself on her.
The cleaver, right?
Was it a cleaver? And was it the cleaver?
I think he came out with the cleaver.
It's got to be the cleaver then, because what she does, she cuts this dude to shreds.
She butchers him.
She kills him and then continues to keep,
the anger's
lunging
up.
and lunging, like cutting. And just, I mean,
I'm not going to put Psycho into that.
It's justified.
It's more anger and like not anger, a little bit of fear. Like, these people are about to cut me up to eat me. So it's like, it's overkill. She does have some dark in her.
For the event that she just went through, I don't think it's overkill.
Yeah.
No way. For what
so Joel never comes.
It turns out she doesn't need Joel.
She doesn't need Joel.
No.
That's big.
So all the things that, I mean, not only does she end up saving Joel with her doing the trade, getting the penicillin, but she saves him twice because she gets, I guess, a lot of the people away from Joel, so Joel can take on the 3. But then she also, and then she takes care of that, all the bad guys really at the lodge.
David and James.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was.
She did a good job.
I think this was more of an Ellie episode than the last episode because look.
And it's not because of the action. And granted, this episode's pace was, I don't want to say it was frenetic. It was very fast paced because they had to get all this in 45 minutes.
It did feel rushed.
It did feel rushed. It felt like they were moving it at a hell of a pace, which at times I kind of was like, can you not to sound like a creep or crazy? Like, can I savor some of this? It was just moving. Like,
I feel like maybe
give us a little movement.
Extra 20 minutes in this episode would have been nice.
Give it a little. The last episode's pacing was an issue. This one was a little too fast. Yeah, it's like they compensated for. Yeah, like I don't want to say let's savor some of these moments, but can we savor some of these moments? It sounds bad and all the way you put it, but that's right. I don't know how else to put it. Well, so I mean, no, you're right. But the best part of the entire episode is really after Ellie does her violent kill of David. Yeah. She comes out of the raging fire that is Todd's Steakhouse at the lodge, and then there's Joel. Yeah. And got her backpack. He's got her backpack, but she once she realizes it's Joel, she hugs Joel. Yeah. And then Joel says, "I got you, baby girl." Yeah. Like, calls her baby girl, which we call his daughter. Yeah. And we, that's what we said to each other. And then we watched the behind the scenes thing. Then they confirmed it. It's been 20 years he said that. And now you get that whole confirmation that he does think of her as his daughter. And she does obviously think of him as the dad. Yeah. And that entire journey is now led to that, which is going to make the next episode even more, what the fuck? So I still think that this is more of an Ellie episode than the last episode. Because look, the last episode, it's for what all the reviews said, like how great they thought it was, yada, yada. It was an episode kind of like, the Frank and Bill episode. Mm-hmm. Like, we didn't need it to move the story forward. I didn't need that other episode for me to find out, for me to realize that Ellie cares about Joel or cares about not losing somebody else, because it had nothing to do with her losing somebody else. She's already at that point now where that's the father figure for her. Right? Yeah, but for the last episodes, for people who loved the episode, it was the backstory that was needed for the character. I get it. I don't want to even. God, whatever, Max. Whatever, Max. I'm just playing devil's advocate. I don't want to go back and. Let's not go back. All right. So this episode, I don't like it. You're right. I'm sorry. This episode. I like this episode. If I was to rank this episode right now, this would be on the top. Oh yeah, this was one of the best episodes. Yeah. Like, one of my favorites of the season, and even with the quick pace, I would give it a 10 if it wasn't for it feeling like it was rushed. Yeah, but they had to get it in. But it was well acted. Yeah. I think we when we were watching it, we paused and said, "Man, this is, Terminus in The Walking Dead, I think got like 2 or 3 episodes worth of in that show. And this group, could have gotten that as well. You know? But I know AMC's Walking Dead has 20 episodes a season or something. This is 10. Right. You got to get a lot in to get it done. But I don't want to say like Kansas City was 2 episodes, right? Kansas City was 2 episodes. Kansas City got 2 episodes. So they could have done that here too. I feel like there was more meat in this episode because you got, with Kathleen, you have Kathleen who's like really bitter
because somebody had her brother, ratted on her brother, arrested because they wanted medicine to save their brother who had leukemia, right?
It's a revenge play.
That's the plot of that one. This one, you've got cannibals, you've got a religious cult, and then you've got, basically a pedophile in charge.
A pedophile in charge, and you have, they killed the father, Joel killed a member.
Yeah.
So there was a lot there.
It seemed like
it could have been 2 episodes. And I'm going to bring it up on Wednesday, the side of leadership, because there's correlations between Kathleen and David here in terms of leadership during the during the apocalypse, and neither did a great job. We'll put it that way.
I just would have liked a little bit more.
I totally agree, because there's so much
fleshed out more.
Yeah, because they talk about this show being they're not going to stray too far from the game, which is cool, but they're going to enhance and give you more. This is another example of where I would have wanted more.
Yes.
To give me, because we do play some of this in the game. It would have been nice to have more breadth to this whole play.
Let me ask you this. Would you have rather not had the Ellie backstory episode, but then had a double of this episode?
For sure.
Double. Yeah.
I would have taken a double of this, just like Kansas City. You could have, you really could have stretched it out and gave 2 really solid episodes.
Right.
Because there's a lot here.
Yeah.
You could have had the first part of the episode, this group's backstory kind of thing, going from Pittsburgh to wherever the hell they got to, and David's rise. Or you could have, I know I'm bringing up your soft opens, but you could have had him teaching the day of the apocalypse, and looking at a teenage girl leaving his classroom all cringe-like, That
could have been a formula that I think that's a missed opportunity. I really do. When we go back and because we're going to have that final review of the
whole
season.
Yeah.
I want to bring in some guests. We've talked about this before.
Yeah.
That's going to be one of the things I'm going to touch upon. I think that's a formula that was, that really could have been, added to this whole thing so well.
Yeah.
And even though this show's getting, I don't think every review that I've looked at hasn't gotten anything lower than an 8. I don't think.
No, it's
people are loving
it out of the park.
And then it's a good show.
Yeah.
It's but that would have been so great to have those soft opens.
Yeah.
And my wife is already mad that I said soft opens, and she was already giving me shit for you need to let go of the soft opens. You just let it go.
You gotta let it go. But I think maybe we'll get one next episode. But it's that, and
we know
I think a little bit. I don't want to see too much infected, but we're not seeing enough infected for me.
We're not seeing the network.
What network are you talking about?
I know,
it's almost forgotten.
They got rid of the spores in place of the network, and I liked that idea. And we've seen it one time, and that was the second episode. Yeah. We have not seen that network in play at all since then.
No.
And
it wasn't even in play last episode, where in the mall.
And I'm gonna tell you right now, for what I know that happens in the next episode, what happens in the game, you will not see the network again unless it's in a flashback. 2. No, unless it's in a flashback.
Yeah.
That you will not see the network next episode unless it's in a flashback.
Yeah. So when we get to that point where we review the whole show in its entirety, I'll probably do a binge and watch all of it.
Oh yeah, we have to.
And stuff,
we have to.
And get it all in one. But the lack of the infected and some of these, because when they said they were going to do the show and said they weren't going to change too much of the story, but they were going to enhance things, I wanted more of that enhancing.
Yeah.
And where they did enhance is where you didn't like Bill and Frank wasn't enhanced. You didn't like that.
It's not like I didn't like the episode. I liked the episode.
But it wasn't needed.
I felt like it wasn't needed.
Yeah.
And I didn't like the Ellie episode.
Yeah.
And I don't think that was needed either.
I didn't like the Ellie episode. And I could see why they did it, but it didn't need it. But Bill and Frank, I thought it was good.
I also kind of think Kathleen was unnecessary, to be honest with you.
No, Casey was cool.
I didn't say Casey wasn't cool. I think Kathleen was unnecessary.
No, you needed that.
Do you?
Yeah, for the hunting of Henry and Sam.
It could have just been 4 people. I mean, yeah, okay.
We'll talk about it.
I'm not going to argue with you on it.
Yeah. Well, so... Yeah. No, we'll argue about it at another episode.
But just not this episode.
Yeah, not this one. This is just a quick recap.
Yeah.
Any little things you saw before? I mean, I know we're going to do a deep dive Wednesday, but that people would have missed, that's critical.
Yeah. Please message us.
Oh,
is that what you're talking about?
No, I'm asking you.
Oh, I thought you were talking about
Look, you're passing the buck already. You ready to go home?
No, actually, to be honest with you, I am actually excited to go home because I'm I want to play this part in the game.
Okay. Yeah.
Even though I know it's going to take me longer than 45 minutes to do it because there's a lot of content there, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I
You'll
can't
say
think
it for Wednesday. Wednesday, I have a lot.
I can't think of anything that I missed that I wanted or that we missed right now.
Yeah.
Overall, it's a good episode. It's your favorite. It's your favorite episode.
No, the Endure and Survive was my favorite so far.
I can see that.
Kansas City. Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
Okay. Yeah.
So far, this one was good though.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Well, this one I think this.
I got more to say on Wednesday. I got a lot of stuff.
I got a lot of stuff to say on Wednesday too.
Yeah.
But I think that's going to wrap this episode up.
Yep.
Thanks to everybody that's been listening. Don't forget, we are now called the ExStreamists.
Yes, we are.
Don't forget to tell your friends, tell your mom, tell your dad, tell your sister, tell your brother.
Everybody to subscribe.
Tell everyone to subscribe. Check out our Patreon page. Feel free to go over there and subscribe. We're going to be dropping those Tulsa King episodes this weekend.
Yes,
so be on the lookout for that.
We'll be back on Wednesday.
Yeah, and then next Wednesday, I believe this Wednesday coming up, we should announce our new show.
Yeah, but we're also dropping Mandalorian season 3, episode 2.
Yes,
and we'll be dropping the deep dive episode of The Last of Us. This episode we just watched, When We Are in Need.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thanks everybody for listening, and we will catch you next time. Music composed by Kyle Torme. Additional bed music composed by Jason Zaffrey. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Last of Us, a Rot Your Brain podcast. Subscribe to The Last of Us podcast feed at rotyourbrainmedia.com/The Last of Us. Follow us on Twitter at rot_yourbrain and support Rot Your Brain Media and its podcast by being a part of this exciting new and growing community. Visit patreon.com/rotyourbrainmedia.